one of the things that also came up with our youth was the use of pronouns.
Yeah.
So a lot of our youth feel like, if I don't use the proper pronouns, I might be disrespectful, I might be labeled as hateful. I
Yeah.
think I have to use them. I think I need to respect the other person because I care
Yeah.
about this person. And if my friend suddenly wants to call themselves they or them or doesn't want to use he or she, I think I have to buy into this. But
Yeah.
then sometimes we have to take a pause and think, do I? Do I have to? How would you answer that? Like, how would we answer that fear of feeling bullied into these kind of ideas?
Yeah. It was interesting. Matt Walsh was on the Dr. Phil show last week discussing the topic of gender. And the people are like, well, these are our preferred pronouns. Dr. Phil's, what do you think? And Matt Walsh is like, no, you don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own adjectives. It's like me telling you my adjectives are brilliant and handsome. And whenever you refer to me, you need to use my preferred adjectives. It's like, well no. Language exists in a reality that is not under the control of my subjective opinions and experiences. And so when it comes to the way that we approach these individuals, we need to understand we have first priority to God to not bear false witness. And so if you love somebody, you can't lie to them. If you lie to them, then you're in a sense entertaining the delusion that they are them, that they are Z, that they are Zer, that they are any of this new litany of new pronouns. And I think what they need right now, if you say that you're not going to go along with this, they might resent you. They probably will resent you. But you know what? I think they're going to resent you a heck of a lot more 5 or 10 years from now when they outgrow this and they realize, wait a minute, nobody, even the people from church, even the people that I thought would, lovingly call me out, no one said anything. Everybody just kind of went along with this whole thing, because what's going on with this whole transgender craze right now is, especially among adolescents, you're seeing something called rapid onset gender dysphoria, which is more often than not adolescent girls who often come from middle to upper class families who don't have a lot of experience with real world dating. They're spending a ton of time on Tumblr, on Reddit, on YouTube, watching these trans influencers, living in this theoretical world of gender and concepts. And then one comes out as trans. And before you know it, it's another. I identify as gender nonconforming, and I'm this and I'm that. And there are these pockets that are just sprouting up, and it's spreading like wildfire. The books are being written on this. There's one called Irreversible Damage that talks about this. It's happening like a social contagion, in the sense it's very similar to cutting and eating disorders, that when bands of girls start doing it, it starts multiplying within these social circles. Now, but the reality is people who experience gender dysphoria, 80 to 95% of the time will naturally come to identify with their biological sex if gender affirmation therapy does not intervene. And what that means is, once you have a society that starts beginning endorsing this, the first phase is a social transition. Oh, you want to be called this name? Go with that name. You want to change your pronoun? We'll go with that pronoun. You want to change the way you present in your clothes, the restroom you're using? We're going to go along with you. That is the first step of a cascade of interventions that once they start to socially transition, it's like, okay, I've got this battle to fight. Okay, everyone's using my preferred pronoun, my brand new name. I'm starting down this path. And then a lot of times, like, okay, well, I got to keep going down the path. And so I need puberty blockers, or I need cross-sex hormones. Maybe I need a double mastectomy. In fact, if you get on, it's heartbreaking. If you go on GoFundMe.com and all you type in is top surgery, which is a double mastectomy. I mean, these are girls who want to have their breasts surgically removed for about $10,000 so that they can no longer identify as female. How many girls are raising funds right now on GoFundMe for that? 40,000 girls are. And they're not getting $5 here and $10 there. People are dropping $2,000, $4,000, $5,000 for these girls to mutilate their bodies, thinking that that is going to relieve their dysphoria. But oftentimes they go through this procedure. Well, they told me if I go through this, then I can always get breasts back later if I want. It's like, it doesn't work like that. You will never breastfeed again, even with implants. The sensation is completely different. And then they're like, wait a minute. Now I was dysphoric about my chest. Now I'm dysphoric about my hips, because now they look so big and disproportionate, because men aren't supposed to have these wider hips. And now that my breasts are gone, that seems to stick out. But my voice is, still this. So I need to go on testosterone. But then you go on the testosterone, and you're 4 times as likely to suffer heart disease. And it's just this, and you end up becoming this lifelong patient of hormones. And it's like this false summit that you never reach because we can't change our sex. It's impossible. Every cell that has a nucleus in your body is sexed. There are thousands of sex-specific genes, meaning your arteries are male or female. Your gallbladder, your esophagus is literally male or female. And so that all that can be done are these expensive cosmetic exterior changes that don't really get to the deeper issues. What is going on here? Why the dysphoria with the body? Because dysphoria is the opposite of euphoria, which is this blissful, peaceful, calm, happiness. A lot of times people feel the opposite towards their body. And they're told by gender clinics, well, the only solution for you is to go on puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, change your pronouns, and then get gender affirmation surgery, and then all your problems are going to go away. Okay, people who do that and go through the surgery, their suicide rate becomes 19 times higher than the general population. And people say, well, that's because there are transphobic bigots out there that don't accept them for their new identities. No, the reason why they have a suicide rate 19 times higher than the general population is because 90% of people who commit suicide have a diagnosable mental health condition. And so to tell these people that we can mutilate your body and the mental health stuff goes away is malpractice. We're contributing with a mental illness instead of actually treating it. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Oftentimes there's autism, there's anxiety, there's depression, there's a history of trauma, there's family dynamic issues, sexual abuse. There's so much going on. And so these individuals who are experiencing gender dysphoria deserve more than this blind affirmation of whatever you think is true. Because in the end, a woman is a person with a female body and any personality. Not a person with a female personality and any body. Because if we just go all the way down the line of like, okay, well, if you think you're trans, you can change your pronoun, change your name. What's the end game on this? Where does this lead society? I mean, look what's happening right now. The controversy of Leah Thomas, the guy who's swimming, who thinks he's a girl, just shattering all these NCAA swimming races, the girls in Connecticut who aren't getting their full ride scholarships to colleges as track athletes because they're getting beat out by boys in the tournament who think that they're girls, or even more severe, over in Australia, England, even in the US, men can transfer into female prisons now if they declare themselves to be female. And they're getting into these female prisons and they're sexually assaulting the other inmates. There was one man who did this in England. He was arrested, put in the male prison. He said, I identify as female. I'm like, oh, well, if you think you're female, send her to the female prison. He got there and he said, no, I think I identify as male. And they're like, so it took him so long to do the paperwork. He was getting frustrated and he started to threaten sexual assault to the inmates and to the security guards. And they got him out of there, put him back in the male prison. And he said, I identify as female now. And they're like, what on earth are we supposed to do here? Because gender is not something that just shifts and changes with our moods like they're telling us, that now you can affirm this true identity. No, God has given you your identity. Your sex is not something that was just assigned to you at birth. It was a gift from the Father that he wishes to give you, that your body is real, it's reliable, it's not meaningless, it's meaningful. And so your friends who experience gender dysphoria, if you tell them that, I don't feel comfortable using that particular pronoun, what I would say is this. Hey, look, I love you. I care about you and I respect you. And I think you deserve respect. And I think you deserve love, but I also think you deserve the truth. And what I believe is that, when it comes to these pronouns, I don't think pronouns are something that we can just prefer. I think biologically we can't change to new sexes. And you know what? You might not want to be friends with me because of that is what I believe. And I hope you don't reject my friendship with you because my beliefs are different than your beliefs, because I accept you as a friend. And I love you and I care about you and I respect you. Even though I know we don't see eye to eye on all the gender stuff, I still respect you and I care about you as a human being. And I hope that you can see the world is a big enough place for people who have different opinions to still care about each other. But I respect and I understand if you don't want to be friends anymore because we don't see eye to eye on this. I respect your choice if you don't want to be friends with me. And see, what you've done is you've put the ball in their court. If you wish to reject me and not be friends with me because my beliefs are different than yours, that's a free choice. I honor that. I respect that. So no longer are you the bully, trying to like be this transphobic, hateful person. It's like, no, I love you and I care about you, but I'm gonna shoot straight with you. And I don't believe this is the best approach for you. And I think real friends are willing to be honest with you, even if it means losing the potential friendship. And so you want to take the high road of love because your message is not one of condemnation and hate. It's about loving people enough to tell them the truth.
Mhm.
That was great. Thanks, Jason. One of the things that speaks so clearly to me when you give us that example of dialoguing with somebody is that you're leading with your heart. Because I find so often maybe we're leading, like you mentioned earlier, leading to change their mind or leading into this conversation wanting to win the argument. But we forget so often that this person, there's a heart on the other side of this conversation. This person wants the space to be heard and to be seen. And you acknowledge that right away. You said, I respect you. You're my friend and I love you. But
Yeah.
I'm also not going to lie to you. I thought that was fabulous the way you explained it. Like, if I love you, I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, and I'd share with them and say, look, I understand that the stress you're feeling in your biological sex, that must be really hard, and I don't know what that's like personally. And so I want to empathize with you, but I also want to share with you things that you might not have seen yet. And if you just get on YouTube and you just type in detransition, there are literally thousands of videos right now of people who are coming out of all over the world saying, look, I did the hormones, I did the puberty blockers, I did have the surgery, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. And now I want to detransition back to my biological sex, but it's so hard now because I had enough stress trying to pass as the opposite sex. Now I've had so many surgical and hormonal, changes to my body. I don't even know if I'm going to pass anymore as my own biological sex. And they share openly and honestly about how difficult this journey has been. And so countries around the world are starting to rethink the way that they're approaching the whole thing. The Dutch protocol, which was the earliest one that said, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormone surgery. And now they're like, hold your horses. This is not going well. These girls are now coming back suing clinics saying, look, how was I to make an informed decision at the age of 16 to sterilize myself? Like, I'm sorry, like if a perfectly healthy woman wants a hysterectomy at the age of like 23, you can't even get one. Doctors won't even give it to you. But a 15-year-old, I'm sorry, I need a little water, could get a double mastectomy for gender dysphoria. Thankfully, these detransitioners are speaking out on this.